Okay, good afternoon, grade 11s, and I hope you're keeping yourself safe by staying indoor and at the same time by keeping your hands clean. Today, we'll be looking at the first topic for the term, which is the second term. We'll be looking at creative thinking and problem solving. Why is it important for businesses to be creative? Why is it important for businesses to solve problems as soon as possible? Creative thinking is very important for businesses if they want to be profitable, if they want to remain sustainable, if they want to attract more customers, if they need to, to be sustainable, like I said. So we'll be looking at the definition of creative thinking, and I'm reading from the core notes. It's topic 8 in your notebook. Firstly, we'll be looking at the description of creativity. What is creativity? Creativity refers to the ability of a person to think original, varied, and innovative. It's very important for businesses to be unique in everything they do, and at the same time to always come up with new ideas. That's what innovative means, coming up with new ideas. The word original means to be distinctive, like people should be able to identify you as a business with your uniqueness. And also, creative thinking focuses on exploring ideas, generating possibilities. For you to be able to think creatively, you must try and explore different avenues, generate possibilities, and looking for many possible answers as to what can you do, why am I doing it, what benefit is it going to be for a business. And remember, I always tell you as an employee in the workplace, even when you go for an interview, one of the first things they will ask you is, how creative can you be? How can you solve problems? What can you add? What value will you add to the business? Which is very, very important. And also, what is the application of creative thinking to address business problems? There will always be problems in the workplace. Businesses are going to face different kind of problems. For example, like load shedding. Businesses will experience suppliers not supplying raw materials on time. Businesses are experiencing COVID-19 as we are speaking. Businesses will experience water crisis. Businesses will experience drought. But how can the business solve all these problems? Businesses can solve these problems by being creative. So it is very important for businesses to apply creative thinking on a daily basis and at the same time to solve problems in the business. In a business, various problems constantly crop up and need to be dealt with. Creative thinking and problem solving are essential techniques that can be used to manage situations. Businesses must also adapt to market changes quickly and creatively. Remember, businesses adapting to market changes, it tells you that the business has little or no control over the market environment. So the little they can do is to influence it. In a situation whereby it cannot be influenced, then they have to adapt to all those changes in the market environment and also in the macro environment. So number 3, we'll be looking at problem solving steps. I actually want you to make a correction. It's talking about problem solving skills, but I want to look into problem solving steps. What steps do you need to follow to solve all these problems? And I actually want you to put it down because I want to make a correction. It's very similar to what you have in number 3, but I actually want to simplify it. And number 1, when you're talking about the problem solving steps, what steps do you need to follow to solve a problem in the business? The first thing you need to do is to identify the problem. I actually want you to put that down. The first thing you do is to identify the problem. Identifying the problem means you need to actually mention what the problem is. The problem is load shedding, not I think the problem is load shedding, not I think the problem is water crisis. You need to identify the problem. The problem is load shedding. The problem is water crisis. The problem is shortage of raw materials. I actually want you to identify that. That is what we refer to as what? Identifying the problem. And that is the first step in solving a problem. And number 2, After you've identified the problem is to give what? To define the problem. Number 2 is define the problem. Defining the problem is just giving a comprehensive explanation of what the problem is. An explanation or a definition of load shedding means that, okay, there's shortage of electricity. If the problem is drought, you need to define what it means. So defining the problem means going a little bit further in explaining what the problem is by defining it. And number 3, which is the third step in solving a problem, is to formulate a strategy. Formulating strategies means that you need to come up with different ideas, brainstorming different ideas. What can we do? How can we do it? Who can we go to? What can we apply? You coming up with different ideas and you're looking at different angles, and you're going forward, you're going backward, lateral. You think in different ways, looking at different solutions that can be used to solve the problem. And number 4, after you've already, number 3, remember I said, is formulating strategies. After that has been formulated, which means different solutions will be given via brainstorming. Number 4 step is to choose the best one. Choose it in terms of which one is affordable, which one is reliable, choosing the one that is more accessible. You get what I'm trying to say? Out of those ones that you formulated, then you need to choose the best one. And number 5, which is step 5, you need to allocate what? Resources. Allocation of resources. Example of the resources will be time. Examples of the resources will be finances. Examples of the resources will be people that will be carrying out all those work. You need to allocate your resources in an appropriate way. And number 6, after the allocation of resources, number 6 will be what? To monitor the strategies. Monitoring the strategies means that making sure that things are being in place the way you want it to be, and making sure that all those resources are being utilized in a proper way, and making sure that all those things are going to come out in the right way, the way it has been planned. And this number 7, which is the last one, is to evaluate the strategies. Evaluation the strategy is very, very important, because it's pointless implementing a strategy without monitoring it. That is very, very important. It's pointless evaluating a strategy. It's pointless implementing a strategy without you being evaluating it. So the evaluation is very, very important to see if it worked or maybe it never worked for you. So you need to see, you need to weigh the pros and the cons, and that is very important in problem solving steps. So I'll take the problem solving steps again. Identify the problem, define it, formulate strategies, choose the best strategy, allocate the resources, and monitor the strategies, and make sure you evaluate it just to make sure that it worked or it's never worked. And if it doesn't work, then you need to come up with a new strategy and you have to start all over again. Then I'm back to number 4, which is talking about the routine versus creative thinking. When you're talking about a routine thinking, is totally different from a creative thinking. Routine means something you do every day. That is the way we do it. It is a standard. That is the norm. That is the way it is being done. Now we want to compare a routine thinking to a creative thinking. So let's see how it works. Routine thinking is a left brain function. It focuses on the analytical thought, the logical, the reasoning, the number, and a written skill. But creative thinking is a right brain function, focuses on creativity, imagination, insight, the holistic thoughts, art, music, awareness. So what is the difference between the two? Why are we bringing routine thinking and creative thinking into the business? Businesses that sticks to routine thinking can never make profit, because they do things in a normal way, like they do things in a traditional way. Okay, we've been doing it that way. But it's very important for businesses to know that consumers do not want things like, how can I say it? Consumers want changes. We want to buy different things because we grow up, and at the same time there is the differences in what we used to like. It is going to be a change rather in what we used to drink or what we used to wear. And at the same time, it's very important for businesses to always come up with what? A creative thinking for the business. Routine means that you're not thinking in a different way. You always stick to one way of doing things. But creative thinking means that you actually exploring different ways of doing things, which is very, very important for the business. When you look at all those businesses that are actually making a lot of profit and retaining their consumers, they are doing that because they could think creatively. But if we have businesses that, they always do things in one way, they're not being creative, they're not bringing in new items or new products, consumers get tired of all those products, and they actually need to switch to their competitors where they can get something new, unique and creative at the same time. So it's very important for businesses to think in a different way instead of just sticking to a routine thinking and saying, oh, this is the way we do it. It doesn't work like that for businesses that wants to be sustainable, and at the same time businesses that wants to be profitable. And number 5, we'll be looking at mental blocks to creativity and idea generation. A mental block. What is a mental block? Mental block is when you cannot think straight. Mental block is when you cannot come up with a solution to a problem. Mental block is when you cannot generate new ideas. Mental block is like, okay, even if a teacher asks you and say, okay, I'm sure one of my learners, I think that should be Angela. When I ask Angela, Miss, that's an example of a mental block. If you cannot give ideas, if you cannot give a solution, if you cannot come up with what if we do it this way? Miss, can't we do it that way? Can't we approach it in a different way? Then it means that person is experiencing a mental block. But it's very, very important for businesses to come up with new ideas. It's very important for them to be creative. It's very important for them to be sustainable. And one way of doing that is making sure that they're always being creative and always coming up with new ideas. Number 1, still talking about mental block to creativity and idea generation. Being taught that there is always only one. Please underline that. Only one correct answer, and they don't want to be wrong. So we have people like that in the business, in the workplace, whereby they're actually so scared of speaking, and they always think, it's only one way of doing that. And at the same time, I don't want to say something that will be wrong. That is an example of a mental block to creativity. Number 2, reasons why people actually have mental block to creativity is they are being afraid of looking foolish and being criticized. I don't want to speak. It's better I just keep quiet so that people don't laugh at me and people don't say, you've been foolish, you've been stupid. How can you say that? Number 3, reasons why people have mental block to creativity is they cannot escape routine thinking. Escaping routine thinking means that they're so fixed in a box. I'm not sure if I gave you the definition of creativity as being able to think outside the box. So creativity is thinking outside the box. Routine thinking is thinking within the box. That is what it means. You can only think in one way. You cannot come up with new ideas. So people that are afraid, they're so scared, like they cannot even escape a routine thinking. They are so, how can I say, they're so kept. It's more or less they are being put in a bottle and they are being, stuck in a bottle and like, okay, you can only do it this way. We cannot do it the other way. And number 4, those people do not think they are creative. Most people look at themselves and they're like, no, I'm not creative. Those are examples of mental block to creativity. Number 5, not knowing how to release their creative thinking abilities. We have some people like that. They do not know different ways or how to explore different things for them to be creative. And number 6, being logical and practical inhibits innovation. Being logical and practical, okay, this is the way you do it. You need to follow certain steps. Then there is no way you can be creative. Creativity means exploring the impossible. Let me use that word, like doing things that are so unique that no one else has ever thought before. I always give this practical example to my learners when I'm teaching the topic. Like, let's take, for example, you are in school and your uniform just ripped off. And what are the things you can do, to mend it in the school pending the time you get home? And some of the learners will say, oh, miss, you must go look. The normal thinking, or we can say a routine thinking, is go and look for a thread and a needle. That is what someone will tell you. That is what everybody will tell you. But someone creative will actually tell you that, okay, miss, can't you use a stapler? Okay, miss, can't you use a Pritt? Okay, miss, can't you go and look for a jersey and just wrap around? Use that jersey to wrap around your waist or to cover the skirt. Or some people will say, miss, can't you use a Pritt? There are a lot of things you can actually think about. That is thinking creatively, thinking outside the box to make you unique. And you also need to understand that all these people you see online, all these new businesses, they're not doing something different, but they're just being creative. A jean will always be a jean trouser will always be a jean trouser, but people come up with creative ideas to make it more fancy, to make it more unique. And despite the fact that you even have maybe like 6 pair of jeans, you still go to those shops and buy from them because there's something unique about their own product they're selling to the consumers. And lastly, having preconceived ideas about what is right. Sometimes we always think this is the only thing that is right, that is wrong. But the moment you start exploring and thinking in a different way, you will get to realize that sometimes what you think is right might be wrong, and sometimes what you think is wrong might be right. So we looked at what? Mental blocks to creativity. What makes people have mental blocks to creativity? And that has to be taken away so that employees can be creative in the workplace, and the business can also benefit from that. Then number 6, working with others to solve problems and generate ideas. Remember, in the business, there will always be teamwork. And at the same time, workplace needs to be a diverse environment. That is, people coming from a different background. So working with others to solve problems and generate ideas is very, very important. Number 1, difficult to be creative and innovative on your own. In the business, there's no way you can say I'm doing things all by myself. You actually need to sit down with other people to generate ideas. And at the same time, it's so difficult to be creative on your own. It's very difficult to generate ideas on your own. You need to listen to other people's ideas. And I think I always make use of that when I want to make a decision. Sometimes I want to listen to learners' opinion, and from there I get to learn from other people. And I think I've made that practical example before, that when I came to South Africa, when I buy bread, maybe after taking like 4 slices of bread and it expires or it's just lying down there, I just put it in the bin. But as time goes on, I spoke to a lot of learners and they're like, okay, miss, but can't you put your bread in the freezer? I never knew you can put bread in the freezer. But I actually learned that from a learner, and I've also learned a lot of things from my learners, all because I could speak to them, and at the same time I wasn't thinking on my own and saying, okay, I can solve all these problems all by myself. Number two, it helps if you are able to bounce ideas off others and get opinions on a matter. You'll learn a lot from people because people came from a different background. People see things in a different way. People's opinions are very, very different. And from there, you can actually benefit from that. Hearing other people's expression, ideas, often triggers more ideas in your own mind. When you listen to other people's opinion, it actually triggers, it triggers you to actually think more like, oh, where is that coming from? Okay, I never thought of that. So those are the benefits of working with people to generate ideas. Working in groups is a good way to generate ideas. With a group of people, the total experience and knowledge does what? It increases. When you work on your own, you can achieve less. But when you work with other people, you can achieve more and more ideas can be generated. And lastly, it allows the group to view problems from a different perspective. It allows the group to view. You see problems from different angles and people see it differently and people can come up with different solutions that is going to help the business. And lastly, for today, I will be speaking about the importance of creative thinking skills. Ladies and men, the creative thinking skills is very, very important. You just have to have it. Number one, essential for the success of a business. For a business that wants to be successful, they need to be creative. A practical example is looking at Woolworth. They've been in existence for a very long time. But one thing we need to acknowledge and we need to speak about is that they've been creative. That is why they have been successful. It is very, very important for businesses to be creative in order for them to be successful. Number two, creative thinking should be developed and practiced every now and then. It's very, very important. Number three, opportunities must be created for creative thinking in the workplace. For example, games and using different techniques. Businesses need to give room for creative thinking activities like, okay, here is a team building. What can you come up with? Here is a problem. What can you come up with? That is very, very important. Creativity skills flourish in an environment that promotes what? Creativity. So at the same time, business owners or the employers needs to also involve employees in creative thinking. If the business is experiencing a problem, the manager mustn't think, okay, I'm the manager, I'm the boss, I can think. No. The manager needs to throw the problem to the employees so that they can also come up with what? Different creative techniques, and at the same time it makes the business to flourish, and at the same time it flourishes the environment of the business, because when employees are being involved in all those kind of a situation, they actually get a kind of a ownership for giving opinions in the business, and it makes the business to flourish. And at the same time, employees need to feel free to question, to challenge, to try fresh approaches, and to give original innovative suggestions without being criticized or being judged. And okay, let me just take 8 and 9, and I'll round up for today. So number 8, we're looking at the difference between a conventional versus non-conventional solution. What is a conventional solution? Getting solutions that are based on, that conforms to what is generally done or being believed. Conventional solutions, those are the kind of solutions our parents give to most of the problems they are encountering. They believe that that is the way it is being done. That is the belief. It's part of the culture. This is the way you should do it. And that is what we refer to as a conventional solution. So it's based on the culture, it's based on the belief, it's based on this is the way it is being done. And we also look at a non-conventional solution, getting solutions that are not, please underline that, getting solutions that are not based on Do not conform to what is generally done or what is generally being believed. So there is a difference between the two. The conventional way of doing things, non-conventional way of doing things. So when you're talking of a conventional way, you'll be talking about, okay, that is the norm, that is the standard, that is the way it is being done, and so on and so forth. Let me give you an example of a conventional way. Maybe at homes, at different homes, parents will tell you, okay, my child, you're going to church. This is the way you must dress. This is the way we used to dress to church when I was your age. Those are the examples of a conventional way of doing things. But non-conventional way means, oh, okay, mommy, I can do it the way, well, that was then when you were so young, but now things have changed, and so on and so forth. And an example of a conventional way can also be like a teaching in the classroom. It is a conventional way, one-on-one teaching, a teacher and a learner. But now we have non-conventional solution. An example of a non-conventional solution is what I'm doing to you today. That is teaching you via the phone or social media. And it's an example of a non-conventional way of doing things, doing it differently from what people believe that this is the way it should be done, is what we refer to as a conventional solution. And lastly, tomorrow, that will be for tomorrow, 9, I will be looking at what? The problem-solving techniques, or we can call them the problem-solving method. It is an interesting topic, and I actually want you to read ahead. And also, on the notes that I'll be giving out now, I want you to read when you are watching the video. Take your core notes with you. Underline facts that I'm laying emphasis on. Underline what I ask you to underline. And get me a few questions. Okay, means at least 1, 2, 3 questions. I will be answering those questions. And have a good day.